Good afternoon to our Inspire Alsis radio listeners. Today on Inspiring Talks with Ilhaam, we have a very special guest. Her name is Monique Moses, and she's going to be chatting to us about her life in Alsis River, and about her career. And then from 1 to 2, I will have our focus feature of an African female that I always find an African female, Monique, and then
Yes.
I look into the life and I look into what they've done, and I just want us to know more about our history because people don't know about Graça Machel, people don't know about ladies in South Africa. They
Leading
follow
ladies.
leading ladies, and they don't follow in the footsteps of our people, our
Mm-hmm.
struggle ladies, our ladies that made a name for themselves here in South Africa because everything is so
Male centered.
and westernized, like so
Mm-hmm.
like I was speaking earlier to Monique about like Kardashians, and like people know them but they don't even know Graça Machel.
Yes.
People know them but they don't know that there's a female leader who had a party ahang. Like they don't know these things. So like I feel like that is so important to know where we come from and where we're going. Anyway, Monique, welcome to Inspire Us
Thank you so much for having me.
Monique is born and bred in Elsis
Yes,
River.
I
So if you
am.
can tell us a little bit about yourself and about like what it's been like growing up here, because you come from Salbaro.
Salbaro.
Yeah.
So living in Elsie's, for me it wasn't like quite, how can I say? Oh God. For me, it wasn't quite different because I was exposed from a young age. I was quite involved in the community, so I was a ballroom and Latin dancer from the age of 7 to I think my pre-teens. So yes, I was quite involved in that. And then high school hit, so you're pre-teen, you focus on other things, so you're less active. So I focused more on my school career, finishing school, and then from there onwards, I decided no, actually, I took a gap year, and then I decided, okay, I'm gonna do some beauty. What is the beauty industry like? And I feel like that time it wasn't so broad like it is now. Like everyone can be a makeup artist, so in that aspect, that I wasn't like interested like that much into it. And then another year, I was babysitting for income, like literally taking care of myself in that way. And then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go apply for a degree. So I went to go enroll, and then one of my majors I got was for criminology. And then 4 years later, and I got my degree in criminology, and that was a very interesting journey. It taught me a lot about myself, my perseverance, and like basically what I can do on my own because I studied through UNISA. So basically everything is online. You have to teach yourself, and I studied during COVID, so everything was online. You have to teach yourself. It's totally different from what school is. School is like you have a teacher, everything is there for you physically. In the classroom setting, for me, it was basically I'm at home, I have to do it on my own. So you're basically teaching yourself the
Curriculum.
the curriculum. So yeah, that is my journey so far.
Okay, let's go back quickly. What school did you go to?
I went to LCSI.
You went to LCSI and then you studied through UNISA.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so you first interested in beauty, and then
Yeah.
you're like, no, maybe this isn't for me long term. And then you did your babysitting, and then what happened that you decided that you want to go into criminology? Is it always been something you're interested in? Has it always been like you like to solve problems or crimes, or you like tell us a little bit
I
about that side of you?
am a major lover of crime.
Okay.
Like I gravitate towards anything crime. I can watch it and I can read about it for days. So yeah, and for me the main aspect is why do people commit crime? Like, oh, it makes you think like, okay, so especially when a child commits a crime, then you ask yourself like, a child committed a crime, and then you question that. So basically going into criminology, it answered many of those questions for me. And it's very interesting. Criminology isn't like one stream, it's like holistic. Everything you need to consider about crime. It's not just one specific thing. Okay, there's a child or an adult, they wanted something, and they got it and they stole it or they committed the murder or whatever. So you need to figure out like what were the risk factors in that, what led them to go commit the crime.
So when you study criminology, do you study psychology? Because it feels like um, it's like getting into the mind of a criminal and understanding why they do what they do.
There we go.
Is that part of your interest in that?
A huge part because okay, if you take okay, some aspects is psychological factors that come into play, environmental factors. So our environment is like it is quite a factor in why we do what we
Yeah.
do.
Yes, I agree. Especially if you look at Alsis River, for example, because Alsis River is a lower income area compared to higher income areas where people are all employed. Nobody's sitting outside, nobody's going to ask for bread, tummies aren't hungry. So your environment shapes your options and it also shapes who you become, because you can maybe start out in a rich area and then you can fall to the lower stratus of society and your whole personality can change. Like you can go from being like treated like a princess, for example, to like having literally to go steal something just to fill your stomach. And so that is where criminology is so interesting, because trying to understand the psychology behind why people commit crimes is part of rehabilitation.
Yeah.
Because as much as somebody is committing the crime and you part of that process of finding them, and then the whole law process takes over, but what do they teach you in criminology about like afterwards? Is there like
So you can look at basically, as you were saying, I was speaking about the environment that we are exposed to. So it plays a huge role.
I think a lot of the times people don't understand what is criminology. They We only see the police. Like okay, if we look at the crime scene or if something happened here in Elster, for example, I saw on our groups that somebody committed suicide there close to me in this week. So we only see the people coming there, and then we see the police coming there, and then we hear about you being in court. So tell us about your role in that process as a criminologist. Like okay, not the suicide part, but like if there's a crime that you can figure out, like a murder or a rape or
So we need to think about what happened before that took place. Like you have
Oh.
to think about who that, like how can I say, like for instance, where did that person, what environment did that person come out of? Is it an environment where he was abused, or is it a runaway? And they are basically that's the only option. So in order for me to
is it like profiling?
basically like profiling.
Because I'm like thinking about
It
criminal
is
minds
profiling.
now. Like criminal minds, they show like how they, when they get a case, then they have to kind of figure out who would commit the crime, and then like
Who's more likely to commit
commit the
it?
crime, and then they would. What is the word? The word would be like look at their prospects and then kind of narrow the search down, because that is what it is. You have to narrow the search down. Is that your
So
part?
you're basically building a history for that specific. So if someone has a history, a long history of in and out of jail, prison, then you have to think like, why? What is the need? Why is the need there? So people are drug addicts. They are alcoholism plays a huge role. So there's that aspect of there's a I need to commit crime to basically feed my habit,
Mm.
and a lot of that happens in our area
Yeah.
to feed our
Too
habits,
much.
and that is basically the only, and that's how they end up in the system. So in my could I speak about the youth? So youth are more likely to commit crime because the reward is much higher, and in in my studies, I've read that they are more prone to go ahead and go do the crime than someone like an adult who would second guess their choices of going to commit a crime. So that's where the psychological aspect comes in. Like children, on their brains are not fully developed, so the reward is more higher. They're not going to think twice. If they wanted to steal a sweet, they will take that sweet. So whereas someone older would think like, oh, should I take it? Is it a good idea to take it? It's still stealing. Where someone that is like less likely to do so won't like think, oh, let me just drop it. A adolescent child would take that risk
Do you think
and then
part of
think about the consequences later.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you now. Like, it's there's no fear of an extreme consequence. So, like, an adult knows that they'll go to jail
There we go.
if you do something wrong, but a child will think, oh, okay, no, I'm just gonna get in a little trouble. Somebody's gonna shout at me or scowl me.
They just want to see how it feels, what it feels like to
Yeah.
go over the edge. That is what the whole thing is about. Like, let me see how far I can go, and if I'm gonna get, like, is the consequence gonna be that big? And that leads to other crimes. So it doesn't matter where you stay. In my opinion, I feel like everyone in the walks of life, regardless of where you come from, who you are, if the reward is much bigger or how small, if you wanted to do it, you would.
So it's whether you can get away with it or not.
There we go.
No, that makes sense because of what is the state of the world today. A lot of people got caught doing a lot of things in this world now, especially if you watch the news. And the consequences isn't that bad. Like, I mean, if you look at even like politicians and you look at big businesses and you look at like people that get away with these terrible things, the consequences aren't that bad, and that is why they either continue,
Crime continues,
it doesn't stop.
and that is where legislation comes into play. Like, how are we gonna, because times are changing, crimes are evolving. We have cyber, and that is also another form of that is now big in this country. But yes, like, how are we evolving our legislation with the times that we are in now? Because children are basically, their minds are forming, they see things on a daily, they're exposed to it. Everyone has a phone, so you can't hide from it, you can't keep them away. So everyone needs to like know like how, basically, what can we do to prevent things from happening.
And you know, to have a phone is a very nice thing, but to see something on your phone and you're so young, it can really
It shapes
it
you.
shapes you, because you can see something that's scary and that instills fear in you. You can see something that's you're not ready to see sexually online, and that happens so much because these things pop up and you can see violence
I
online.
see.
I mean, how many children don't send those videos to each other of fighting and all that stuff? I personally don't like to watch such things, but as a young child, you're vulnerable. Your mind, like you say, isn't
We are
fully
kids are
developed,
very impressionable.
and it can scar you for life if you see something that you're not meant to see, and no one prepared you mentally. Like, we're gonna show you a video now, and we're gonna teach you this now, and you
don't
on
you-
your phone, and like you going
Yes,
through
and
reels.
and we in a time where everything goes viral. It's very easy to go viral, and kids basically want to see more of those type of things because of the likes. It's trending. So how do parents monitor such behavior and things that they see on a daily?
And I mean, your child becomes a product of their lived experience. So, by the age of 20, 21, when your brain is busy developing till its full point, and you've been watching violence or playing video, it's also the video games, Monique.
The video
The
game.
video games, like you've been like doing this for 10 years, because you start like getting into that kind of things at 10 years old, and now you're like
Yes.
20. and you've been doing violent games, you've been watching violent content, that shapes you, your mind, it shapes your heart. And so
So,
now you're dealing with a 20-year-old that loves violence. And now,
because that's all that they've
then
seen.
him and his
It's
friends,
basically
or her and her
grooming
friends.
or rearing, child rearing in that way. So I've seen it. I was a teacher assistant last year for like 6 months, and in my time there, I see it a lot. Like kids come with that. How can I say? They bring that into the classroom. So it takes away. Sometimes it takes away from the learning, and then we have to listen to what these kids do. What are they up to? What is the new trend? What are they watching? And it was very interesting.
Like, tell us a bit about that.
Like um, there will be times where a kid won't be a kid. Like if you try to reprimand them or you have to tell them no, you can't do that, and then it's like there's no sense of who's the child, who's the adult. So there's that. The social cues are missed
Mm.
in the classroom. I've noticed.
Oh, and this is high school children.
No, it's primary.
Oh, what? I can only imagine the high school children.
It was quite an eye opener. Like where kids are today
Compared to like where
compared
you
to when
were.
I was there, when I was in school. So it's a quite different dynamic. Like today's kids are more, can I say, they're more in touch with their feelings, or sometimes they can't express their feelings so broadly. Or if you ask them like, can you tell me what's wrong? Then it's just a outburst, or I'm gonna be aggressive in this moment.
Mm.
So how do you adjust your way of thinking to that child?
Mm.
And I had to learn like, okay, this child is going through something, so I need to be calm. I need to listen and wait, like be patient with them, because I don't know where that child comes from. I don't know their home situation. So everyone is different. Where you get the child that is quiet, or the one that, so for me, what I've noticed, I would worry more about the one that is quiet than the one that is just, basically all kids are different. But okay, I can't now just say like the one that is quiet or the one that's having an outburst, the one that is joking. Everyone is different. So you have to adjust your the way you're gonna basically talk to them and see like, okay, what do they need in that moment? Is this like, is this now a situation where I need to go for disciplinary action, or is this just something that can be talked out in the moment? So that is basically what I've learned.
Mm. I want to ask you something. With your criminology background, and so you worked at a school, are there like signs, like red flags? You know, in relationships, you get the red flags and the green flags.
Yes.
Are there like red flags that you can see in children that you can share with us? Because sometimes we don't pay attention, especially when you're at home, and your teacher can tell your parent if they see this red flag, to prevent any like future crime or future
Misbehavior.
or any unraveling of a whole person's life. Is what can we look for in children to prevent them from becoming criminals?
So first off, teachers are with our kids every day. So they are like our first point of view, and they build a report. So if the child is absent or they're out of school too much, and then those are the signs I would pick up on. And teachers pick up on these things. Like, are they academically behind development-wise, or are they paying attention, or is there some psychological issue that needs to be looked into? And I've noticed quite a few, and teachers do their best to handle those situations to the best of the ability with the parents' cooperation or help in that, because parents play a huge important role in that, into trying to navigate ways that can improve that situation. So with both teacher and parent, with the help of the government, plays a huge role in preventing or combating such behaviors. Because at the end of the day, kids are kids. They need assistance. So, but without the help of parents, what can you do? kids will fall into the system, and that is the reality we face every day. They
Okay,
become
so
dropouts,
yeah, or
um,
like teenage pregnancies,
teenage pregnancy, drugs, and
yeah.
they get easily influenced. And what looks good, what looks flashy, they are gravitating towards that life. They go towards what is easy. So ways in which teachers and parents can combat these things, or misbehavior or crime prevention, is basically having the government assist teachers, or in a school environment, like basically having sports initiatives, soft skills initiatives, and that could be, so the time that you will spend outside doing loitering, you could be at school developing a skill. So basically, in a positive way, you can like rear a child into a positive mindset, because with that you get a positive self-esteem.
Mm.
So when you have a positive self-esteem, you're going to want to do it more. So that is where I would go towards.
So say invest in their development.
Invest.
And are you saying like there need to be more after school
Because
programs?
I grew up with that. My mother took me for ballroom and Latin dances, and that taught me to be disciplined.
Mm.
You, I that basically formed myself into being hardworking, taking pride in what I do, and that is what we are shaped into. So basically, if you enroll your child in certain activities, you're basically forming your adult mindset, that you're basically forming kids into what they will become. So that is what I can attest to, because that taught me resilience, and that I can do it, and that's where self-esteem comes into play.
Hmm. We're just gonna go for a quick song break and then we'll be back with Monique Moses. She studied criminology and she was also a teacher's assistant for 6 months. And she's teaching us about cues, social cues. We're gonna talk about also later, and then also about what red flags to look out for to prevent, and then also to help develop your child into a healthy human being, because we need to invest in our children. Welcome back to Inspire Elsie's Radio. We still have in studio Monique Moses. She is a criminologist and she's talking to us about living in Elsie's River and talking about the studies and about her work as a teacher's assistant. At what school were you at the teacher's assistant?
I was at the Wolverine Primary
Yeah.
in Reiterweg.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you were talking earlier about how children need development. So we're looking at how to develop a child so that they don't end up a criminal. But now if we have to look at somebody who is a criminal and somebody who's maybe committed like a few crimes and in and out of jail, what would their mindset be like?
Some people's mindset are very sadistic. Um, they might find pleasure. Like, we are in a world where everything is about me, selfish. So that could be one of the factors that may lead to a person that has like a criminal mindset. They're going after the pleasure. So that's why you will see people commit a repeat offense. So it might be, like I could now make an example, a pedophile. There's always going to be kids. So the main point, or the main reason why a pedophile would do the same thing over and over, is to have the pleasure that they receive. So that is like their mindset. They're on that mindset of, I need to go and get my pleasure, because you only get pleasure for so long. It's like eating a chocolate or drinking coffee. You get pleasure out of it. So basically that is what drives people to do the same thing over and over, because of the pleasure they get from it.
Okay, so if we're looking at the normal person who likes to eat chocolate and every time they eat chocolate they get pleasure from it, if they had, it's not about choice anymore.
No.
It changes from it being a choice to it being they need it.
They need it. It's a need. So for someone that has like a order, everyone that has like the thought where it comes out of where we talked about, you know it's wrong, you know right from wrong, You know it's wrong, so you're not gonna do it. You're gonna ask yourself like I might go to jail, or my mother might be like, there will be a consequence for my actions. So with someone that has a mindset of a psychological
Disorder.
disorder, or just like they don't function the same way that someone that will now question, like, am I doing the right thing? They're just gonna want to go. They reward is pleasure, so they're gonna go after that.
No
So
matter
that
what.
no matter what, they're not gonna think like, what is the
So
risk?
laws don't matter to them. Society rules don't matter to them. Only thing that matters is, okay, maybe to some extent
To
they know
some
they don't want to get
extent,
caught,
there we
so
go.
they will use.
That is the only risk factor that they might think of,
Yeah.
but the reward is sweet. Like, that's where I'm like, where I will talk about the reward is much higher than
The risk.
the risk. Basically, we
Because they're
all
getting away with it for so long.
they
So, like, for
there we
example, if you
go.
brought up like people that abuse children or females, or like GBV is very big in Alsis River. So the consequence is so little, and like the punishment is so little. I mean, I was speaking last night to my neighbor, and then I was saying to him, yeah, the police are like all around here yesterday. And then I said, I think they're looking for somebody because, like, it was just so many. Like I saw almost 10 vans yesterday. And then he said, even if they catch them, they're just going to go to court and get 500 rand bail. It's like the consequence.
So, during the school holiday last year, I took the initiative to basically spend the 3-week holiday, June holiday, in court. So I basically went to go sit and listen to stories, what the case is all about, and most of the time it was GBV cases. And I would give props to our court system because they take it very seriously. They don't necessarily throw it out. They don't necessarily throw cases like that out because it's serious, because it happens on a daily. It's not going to happen once. It's going to continue to happen. And it also takes the victim. But you also can't blame the victim because that is the environment. You can't necessarily get away from your perpetrator. So the only way that the courts can help you is by prosecuting your perpetrator. And most of the time, you can't withdraw a case because GBV, we've seen our statistics, like what are the consequences of withdrawing a case as death, as your death. So victims also have a responsibility to follow through because you wouldn't make that case in the first place if it wasn't serious.
But
It was serious the first.
Monique.
I get that.
It's
I've
a
seen it.
fear
I've
thing.
seen it, listening to cases, and you can't get away because most of the time your perpetrator is your husband, your brother, your boyfriend, your partner. So you can't necessarily get away from it because we don't have the resources to get away from it. There's no like, where do you go to? Who do you talk to? Yes, there's social workers. Yes, there's counseling. But like,
And the
what if the
shelters,
person?
even
What
the
if?
shelters, they don't. It's not our set up, and we've been dealing with this problem for so long. Hasn't even changed. Like, I mean, even if you go
there's
live at the
little
shelter,
change.
there is it's too little for the rate at which women are dying.
And
Like,
most of the time, women are the victims.
most of the time,
But let's face it, women are the victims majority of the time.
yeah. So which court were you at?
I went to Gurut Court.
You went to Gurut Court.
Gurut Magistrate Court. And
Tell
then
us
I
more
went
about that,
to...
yeah.
Okay, so comparing... So you get different court rooms.
And I
for
just want to
different...
ask you quickly, can anybody just go and sit?
No. I had to ask permission.
You need permission, okay.
Because I was there for like a few weeks. So I couldn't just go sit and like... Because some cases are, sensitive. And it was very interesting. Each area is different set of crimes. And most of the time, like, my first week, I was in C Court, and which was people here, from here. And most of the time, it was violent crimes. It was drug-related crimes. So that was an eye-opener. And, yeah. Not to say that all crimes are, like, small, but like it's big crimes. You can be sentenced. You can literally be prosecuted. So yeah, it was quite a eye opener. It's different from when you're reading and from when you're seeing when you're sitting in court and you're like, wow. And most of the time they're all lenient on young, basically people from the age of 18 to 25, because they do feel like there is mitigating factors that could, like, divert, because you will get bail, you will get a fine. But because our courts are lenient like that, they give you a second chance to prove yourself, like you won't do it again. And that is only in some cases where they won't do it again because the consequences are so small.
So we're not talking stealing or driving under the influence. It's like like what kind
Like
of crime?
violence, murder, drugs.
Wow.
So yeah.
And that's from this area.
Yeah, Sea Court is from this area,
Elsie's
from
River.
Elsie's.
Sure. I know they will.
Oh, and I love watching our prosecutors in action, because, and I love to see our people of color in those positions, because we need to see more of those, not just the people in the stand waiting for the case to be brought up. And that was my, like, oh, we can take up space. We're not just the druggie on the corner selling. You get what I mean? Like, it's a huge, like, an accomplishment. It's like your win is my win. You inspire me to be that. And I wish most kids would see it that way. But then again, we are faced with a lack of resources, because not everyone can afford
to go to university.
Go to college, even though our government does have funding in place, but not everyone is eligible to receive those funding. And that is where the misconception comes into play. Like our colored people, we need to take that leap of faith and go out and go look for those resources, because it is available. You just have to go and find it.
There is money, yeah. Whenever somebody tells me, oh, there isn't money, I say, you're lying.
There is.
You a liar. Because there is money.
And
There
that's
is
where
resources.
the
Because how come someone else can have a good life experience and have access to resources, access to education, access to cars, access? What makes them different from the child in Elsie's River? You're lying to the child in Elsie's
There
River,
we
where
go.
you're saying you can't do this and you can't be this and how you gonna do this, and like
that is where the discouragement comes into
Yeah.
play. And that's also where I feel like parents and teachers play a huge role in mentoring our kids into they experience a lack of confidence in themselves because of the words and things, that information that they get from others. Oh, it didn't work for you, so it's not going to work for me. But like, we need to change our mindset and be like, no, it's going to work for me. I'm going to finish matric. I'm going to university, regardless whether I have money or not.
And not only that, also just because like what you were saying didn't work out for me, don't be that person to try and make someone else's life bad.
There we go.
Like, there's so much opportunities, and I think it's also this, that there isn't money, there isn't work, there isn't this, there isn't that, but there is so much. I mean,
You
if
can be your own
you-
success
and you
story.
can train for free. I mean, you can go to young people at work.
I
You
studied,
pay
I
70
done
rand,
a
80 rand here
program.
and there in between when you have the time.
Yes.
Upskill yourself. You can go to the ICANN Center. You can speak to people there. You can go to do Jeremy's work. You can go ask for help there. Like Badisa, you can like really, it's about
Putting
but
yourself
it's also
out
you,
there.
like you were saying earlier about environment. If you're in an environment where somebody is always negative, how do you break the chains? How do you? And it's a mental chain.
It's a mental change.
They chain you to like believe the way they believe, and you don't need to. You can break that chains and
And I-
find your own path.